Are you recording, fun?
You can OBS.
Alright.
Okay. Let me know when you
That's
guys are
pretty
ready,
good.
man. Okay, sure. So look, for the recording, I'm debating Isaac, the official judge, and let me know if I cut out or I'm lagging or my mic is quiet. But for the judge, or I apologize, for the recording, the judge is Hermes. Please let the people who are not relevant to the debate down. Like, for example, Gali. I don't know why Gali's up and then Hermes went down for some reason.
Wait, isn't
But the
Godly
topic
mod?
is going to be, no, he's not mod. But the topic is going to be Luffy versus Zoro. I have Luffy. He has Zoro.
Wait, I'm confused because the agreed upon moderators were owners of the server. Isn't he an owner?
He is.
Yeah, I'm fine with owners, but I want to pinpoint the specific owners. So I'm fine with Akano, I'm fine with Azrael, I'm fine with Westbound, but I'm not fine with Gali because I've never seen a moderator in my life.
Bro, I'm not trying to moderate. let me see if I
Okay,
can
yeah.
do this.
Get Westbound in here then.
Because he's not gonna agree to be.
Hold on, I was down for a bit. Who has Zoro? Who has Luffy?
I have
I
Luffy.
have Zoro. He
So
has
wait,
Luffy.
hold on. Wait, so why don't we just agree to Azrael, and then as soon as you say or you see something that you don't like that he does, I promise you we could just get another moderator just to get it on the road, like just to start it real quick.
Nah, bro. I don't want Azrael.
Oh my god,
Dude, it doesn't matter
That
because,
nigga's-
like you said, we don't even need a mod unless like we cut each other off. So,
Well, I'm fine with that, but we can start without a mod, and then if
yeah,
it
we can
gets to
start
that
without
point,
a mod.
Azrael
That's
can
fine.
just
Yep.
okay, sure. So my position is that Luffy beats your character. What's your position?
The Zoro beats your character.
Okay, what's
The
the argument?
opposite. Yeah, what's the argument? We just see Zoro blitzing Kaido, and then Kaido goes relative with Luffy.
Okay, send the scans, and then secondly, by the way, actually, I'm not even gonna put you on that. Send the scans.
Wait. Okay, hold up.
Hey, Gyro, you gotta be a little quicker in the DMs, bro. Come on. Gotta help him, Gyro. Come on, man.
That's another one, or is that the same one?
Let me ping in Cock real quick.
I'm a really nice guy, so I'm gonna help you guys out and stop pinging to my service, bro.
Thank you. I love you. I'll just clarify yes, homo. What the fuck am I echoing?
I need to put a coat on, bro. I'm dismissing all your arguments while I put this coat on, nigga.
It was, dude. I'm telling you, bro.
Uh,
Telling
uh,
you, bro. There's a ladder there, bro.
my bad, mano.
Dude, I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you.
Yo, whoever that is, can you please mute your mic? Yo, whoever that is, can you please mute your mic part 2?
Telling you, bro. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Yo, that nigga has repeated the same 3, bro. What is he telling you, bro? What is he telling you, bro?
Okay, I
What?
sent the scans. Infinity, are you there?
Hello, did I hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I sent the scans.
All right, man. So let's go scan by scan. Meaning for the judge, real quick, I just want to clarify. What I mean by scan is I'm going to explain why each individual scan does not entail his points. So it's the case that we're going to go point by point. If I do say that we're going to conclude and he agrees to conclude, and by conclude, I didn't specify at all that we're concluding on this point, just assume that I mean by this point, just for clarity, unless I specify otherwise. But starting off with the first scan, let's read it, man.
Wait, hold up. Let me just clarify something real quick. The first 3 scans, I'm using them together.
Yeah, but if I explain why each individual scan does not entail the conclusion, you saying that they collectively entail the conclusion is not actual evidence that they do collectively entail the conclusion.
Fine.
You have to explain why collectively they do entail the conclusion, like I said.
Okay,
But,
okay. Explain why then.
well, I didn't say I disagreed. I have to read the scans first. That's typically what
Okay.
people do in debates. What's the first scan for?
The
Specifically?
first scan, it's just to show that like Zoro charges up. It's just to give additional context. Zoro charges up at Kaido, and then basically they start clashing, and then Zoro just cuts
Hold
him.
on.
He doesn't
Scan by
react
scan,
to
scan
it.
by scan. Hold on, scan by scan. So first
Yeah, okay.
scan is the charge up, correct? Just the charge up?
It's where he's approaching Kaido.
Okay. Can you show where he's approaching him? Because in that scan, it seems like he's just getting ready to attack or getting ready to approach him. Signified by the last scan, I don't see any movement, at least on the lower end.
Oh well, I mean that doesn't really matter much if it's just him getting ready to approach him. That doesn't really change anything in my argument. Like you can say that he approaches him in the second scan, but the whole point is that Kaido just doesn't react to it.
Okay, we can get to that point after. I just want to have
Okay.
single individual scan explained. So the first scan is him preparing to approach him potentially. The second scan is him actually, the second scan is him actually beginning the attack, correct?
Yeah, him beginning his Ashura attack.
Okay.
And then we see him cut him in that same panel.
So there is a point that I want to cover real quick. Now, this is not my entire disagreement with the scale, Hermes, just to clarify, because I don't think you would do this, but I don't want really any retarded judgment or anything like that. This does not mean that if I were to lose this point, that his point goes through or his skill goes through, but it says that, and I hope that you would agree, it says that this is at his limit. Let's see what it says specifically. Hold on, go back to lobby. He says, listen, Traffy, what I'm about to do is the limit of my ability. So do you not believe that this is something that he would use at the end of the battle or at the point in the battle in which he doesn't believe anything else that he has will work or be effective against the opponent?
This can be him at his limit, but I don't see what that changes.
Yeah, so what that changes is that if Luffy were to beat him in a scenario in which he doesn't use this ability at the start, that would be efficient for the position that I have, and that's just clarity. I'm not saying that he would do that. It's just setting that up if it were the case that I would argue for Luffy being a blitz above him.
Whoa, wait, hold up. I want clarification on something. If you're not saying that he would do that, then what's the relevancy?
I'm not saying that he would do that now. I'm saying potentially I might bring it up. So I'm just clarifying.
Okay,
you don't have to argue against it, but I'm still going to make the claim because obviously it's something that's justified. Within the scan, he himself says that this is his limit. Now, when people typically say that, it's the case that obviously by limit, that means that they can't expand past that. So what follows is that he most likely used this in a situation which he deems to be dire. So if he uses it in a situation which he deems to be dire, starting off the battle, obviously he's not going to deem the situation to be dire unless he believes that he cannot exhaust any other feature that he has to effectively win the battle. Which if you believe that, that's also fine. I can grant that.
Hold up. This is the issue. I think it's his limit contextually. I think it's attributed to the fact that he's very injured. We're told that he had 30 to 20 broken bones after this interaction. And we see
Wait, no, I agree with that.
bleeding. Wait, hold up. We see blood all over his body. So I think it's just attributed to his injuries. This is why it's something at his limit. But I don't know if it's like something that he always uses when he's at his limit, or he's always at his limit when he's using it. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, I can agree with you if it were the case that he wasn't in a battle. So within this scenario, I want you to explain why all of his injuries are something that has relevance, especially since we see within fiction there are multiple characters who do have the ability to build up their will to the point where they can render their injuries useless for a single attack. So for example, they can build up all their power in their body to make it to where every single injury that they have, although it still exists, it's still there, is irrelevant to their performance. So for example, if he's mentally nerfed throughout the entire battle, but within this scenario, he has to build up all his willpower to actually instantiate an attack against the opponent, he can disqualify the mental nerf within that specific scenario, at least to build up the attack and then charge at Kaido. So for that one instance, it's similar to adrenaline. In that one instance, is the case that he applies all of his built-up willpower to ignore all the injuries, and which makes it to where the injuries wouldn't affect his performances. I want you to go ahead and show all the broken bones and everything like that. I do agree that he's fatigued, but I don't grow up in the scenario that the fatigue is going to affect him if it's the case that he's saying that he's about to go to his limit. So there may be adrenaline or some type of mental. Hold on, let me finish real quick. So there may be adrenaline or some type of mental amp, especially since it's the case that his captain is right there dead on the fucking ground. Couldn't go dead.
Yeah, okay, so firstly, I think it's just an added assumption to say that he is a mental amp. Secondly, what I would say is basically like you brought up the whole thing about like something about conviction. Can you just repeat that part real quick before I fully respond? Like what were you attributing the conviction to?
Look, I'm not a charitable debater. The time that I respond, I'm going to be giving all my responses. So if you want me to respond to the first point, I can if you want.
Okay, you can just
Okay, so I'm
respond
going to take
about
that as
that.
yes. So as a response to the
Yeah.
point that you just gave, it's the case that it's an added assumption. I don't grant that ontological parsimony is something that you can actually apply to a debate while it's actually useful. So what that means to say is that I don't grant ontological parsimony being an effective tool to apply within a debate. I grant other types of parsimony, definitely. Additionally, it's the case that the reason why I don't grant ontological parsimony is because if you have some theory X or some hypothesis X, all the assumptions that the hypothesis X makes would be something which is negated by hypothesis Y, which is a negation to X. Both hypotheses would include, or hypotheses would include, the negated assumptions, which are both unwarranted at the point of time. So it would follow that ontological parsimony within at least its application period is not something in which would be an effective tool to actually infer a conclusion with that relevant towards the debate. And then additionally, for the conviction point, all I was saying was, and by the way, let me clarify this way. Just for the judge, when you say it's an added assumption that he is mental nerf within this instance, I'm not saying that he's mental nerf. I said it makes sense for him to be mental nerf. And additionally, even if I were to make the claim that he is mental nerf within this instance, it would also be an added assumption to say that he's not mental nerf within the scenario. Now, one basis, and it's not limited to, but one basis as to why he possibly may be mental, or I apologize, mental amped. One basis as to why he may be possibly mental amped is because he sees his captain on the ground. He's about to exhaust all of his power for this final attack. He may have adrenaline building up because within this scenario, this is the last dire attack he can make. Everything is building up. Everything is being saved for this moment. And the conviction point is just correlative to that.
Yeah. Okay. So you said you didn't grant that ontological parsimony can be applied, and then
That's not what I said.
you said wait, hold up, into a debate. Yeah, that's literally what you said.
That's
And you
not what I
said it
said.
would yeah, and then you made some type of claim about negation. I just want you to prove that because like you gave a reason for it. Just what's the evidence?
Okay, so look, for everybody within the
Wait,
channel
hold
real
up,
quick,
hold
or
up.
within
I
the
didn't-
VC,
Wait,
I'm sorry.
excuse me.
Please don't. I'm
Wait,
sorry.
wait.
Please don't take 10-second pauses and expect me not to respond. Like
It wasn't
what?
10 seconds. So wait, can someone mute him?
It definitely was around 10
wait, hold on.
seconds. Do not mute me.
I just forgot to respond.
Wait.
to
Okay,
the
I'm
point.
gonna let you go.
Mute him, mute
I'm gonna
him.
let you go.
Wait,
I'm
hold
gonna
up,
let you go.
Hold
But
on.
why would I be muted? Why would I be muted? Everybody who heard that pause,
Wait.
do not mute me for that
Calm
shit.
down, nigga. Damn.
I'm calm down. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm calm, nigga. What the fuck?
Okay, yeah. So you said that there's good reason to believe that he could be amped here. Yeah, that's the same issue. It just falls into an assumption. So that's kind of just predicated on the other point about ontological parsimony. And for you to say that you don't know if the injuries affect him, yeah, I already highlighted a severity of the injuries. I'm not just using the fact that he is injured within this scenario, which I think that you know that. That's why you asked me to show the scan of him having 30 to 20 broken bones. Can somebody send that? If not, I can just go through it. But we're not going to argue while I'm trying to send a scan. It's just
Doing that. So this is not what's about to occur. What's not about to occur is that you're about to control the debate, okay? So if you're trying to get a scan, you can get
You're
the
so
scan. Just
corny.
because you can't track, I'm sorry, can y'all please mute him? He's saying that I'm corny for telling him that he's not about to control the debate. He made a claim and that he's mad and I'm responding to it. But can y'all please mute him because I didn't interrupt him purposely. Okay, thank you. So let's go point by point. Now, for everybody in VC, let's clarify. This is Debater 101. Whenever you want something to be put in question that the opposite debater makes, what you need to do is point out the claim that they made. But why didn't he do that, guys? Because he didn't track. So what he said was a bunch of ramble. You made an argument for about negations and shit. Yes, I made the argument. The justification for the claim is simply that, logically speaking, rationally speaking, it follows that if there's a hypothesis X in which assumes Y, then hypothesis B, in which is a negation to hypothesis X, would have some incompatible assumption with Y, retard. If it's the case that in totality it is incompatible with the hypothesis that we're talking about initially. So when you say that you're assuming that this is the case, I never said it was the case. I never said that I have good reason to assume it's the case. I said there is a reason, not that the claim that I'm making is limited to that reason being true, but there is a reason. We see within fiction, at least in one occurrence, when their ally is defeated, their allies on the ground, injured, etc., that characters are able to get mental amps or at least buff themselves to an extent in which exhausts all their features within a scenario. Now, the claim I made about negations was very clear. I hope the judge was able to understand that. When you say you explained the injuries, yes, I want you to send the scans for the injuries, but I can grant that he's injured in some way. That's not the point. I want you to explain why he's injured in a way in which would be relevant, even if it were the case that he has some feature in which consistently or in a lot of scenarios is able to disqualify the injuries being relevant when it comes to the performance. And then when I say performance, I'm talking about at least the performance of the ability in specific. So yes, it can affect his performance when it comes to the overall battle, but I don't grant that it affects his performance within this specific instance. I don't even grant that it does affect his performance in the overall battle, but I'm just going to say it does affect his performance in most of the battle. I can agree with that.
Yeah, for the first thing you said.
I'm sorry. I'm doing the same thing as you. And then additionally, I never said that ontological parsimony can be applied in debates. You have to, actually use your ears. What I said was ontological parsimony cannot be applied effectively within debates. It's the case that ontological parsimony cannot be applied effectively within debates because what it states is something which applies to both ends. It's not effective. It says that we should take the explanation, or at least a limited scope of ontological parsimony is going to want to say that we should take the explanation which has the less unwarranted assumptions. However, if you do some prediction of both hypotheses, it's the case that they both have the same amount of unwarranted assumptions. Because if claim X makes assumption Y, then the negation of claim X must make not Y. Like, obviously, this is retarded.
Yeah, okay. So firstly, it's just obviously it can have the same amount of assumptions. What I'm saying is you're positing more entities, okay? Right? So I never even made a claim about the quantity of assumptions. So that's just you not tracking, firstly. I don't know why you got on me about pauses when you just paused like a little retard, but that's fine. To move on to the other things, I just sent the scans, or somebody else sent the scan for me that just shows you didn't track. And then what do you mean that he can be injured and it can be affecting him in the battle, but it wouldn't affect him in a certain moment? Like, are you a fucking retard? What's the distinction? Like, please, tell me what would be the distinction between a specific moment and other moments.
Okay, so let's all read the scan for that last point, but let's clarify the response to the first 2 points for Hermes real quick. So in response to the first point, obviously I believe that the entities are correlated to the assumptions. So I want you to explain that outside of the assumptions, quote unquote, that are made, there are more entities being posited. When we say entities, Isaac, this is what you're going to learn. When we say entities, we're talking about the variables applied to the claims. However, the variables are going to be assumptions because at the point in time in which they are made or assumed or presumed, it's the case that there's no evidence for them. Analytically, they're assumptions. So when you say, we're not talking about assumptions, we're talking about entities. The assumptions, either one, are identical to the entities, you fucking retard, or two, the assumptions are based upon the entities. Both are compatible with my point, depending on your view. Either way, it's the case that both sides are compatible with my point. Now when you say, I'm sorry, please mute him. I wasn't speaking at all. I'm going to dismiss the beam that he tried to place on me, by the way.
Wait.
I don't know why he... Yeah, I'll explain. I'm sorry. I'll explain it when it's... Why is he not being muted? Thank you. So the reason why I'm dismissing the burden is because I agreed to a judge in which goes off of an argumentative style and a charitable style. That's one reason. A charitable style wouldn't be allowing a burden to go through if it's the case that it's my turn to speak, and me and Hermes was discussing this last night. Another reason that's why I'm dismissing the burden is because it seems to be the case that there's no reasonable basis for the burden to be placed upon me. And then just for further clarification, the point I was making before I was interrupted, is the case that if you were to assume it follows that we're not talking about entities, but we're talking about the assumptions, all that means to say is that they're not identical, and I could just say that the assumptions are based upon the amount of entities. Therefore, ultimately speaking, if we are going to posit that there is some X number of assumptions, we're going to have to posit that there's some X number of assumptions which negates the original set of assumptions that we're talking about. And then if we assume the view that they are identical, then obviously I already explained how that helps my point. And then he also made the claim that I wasn't tracking because someone else sent the scan for him. That's not how that works. I just wasn't looking at chat because I was waiting for you to say that you sent the scans. Just because someone else sent you the scans or sent the scans for you doesn't mean I wasn't tracking because I didn't notice that someone sent the scans for you. Like, are you dumb? Anyways, where in the scans does it talk about what you're talking about, how it affects him relevantly within this specific instance? And when you say, oh, what's the difference? I already gave the difference. Use your fucking ears, retard. The difference between this instance and then almost every other instance in the battle is that he clarifies that he's going to exhaust his features to his utmost limit within this instance. However, he's obviously not exhausting his features to his utmost limit within every other instance of the battle because he wouldn't clarify within this instance that he's doing that if it were the case that he did in every other scenario. So if it follows that within this scenario, he says he's going to use feature X to its utmost limit, obviously that entails it's likely the case that he wasn't using it to its utmost limit prior. Now, one thing in which can disqualify the effect of the injuries he has is adrenaline, for example. That's just one thing, but I'm not saying that that's The only thing, that's just one thing. Now respond to the point. Don't try to, oh, he's ass, oh, you're not tracking, while not tracking yourself. I want you to justify, one, that ontological parsimony is something that you can use as an effective tool. Secondly, that by entities is something which wouldn't be relevant to assumptions. And then thirdly, if it is the case that by entities, you're meaning something completely irrelevant to assumptions, that the entities actually having a higher ontological status is relevant when it comes to parsimony. Go ahead.
Wow, this guy
Hermes,
just
was
loves.
that
Oh, he's muted. Whatever. This guy just loves like yelling, bro. I don't know what's up with them. But yeah, to address the whole parsimony thing, what I mean by entities is obviously like assumed entities. Maybe you can say that that's like wrong or whatever, but that doesn't really matter. What does matter here is what I thought you meant by assumptions was just like the number of propositions, but that's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying here is what you would be assuming by an entity is just like basically something that's going to be like assuming something ontologically, okay? That's all I meant by an entity. I didn't mean like, oh, okay, like a proposition or something like that. That's not what I was talking about. But I don't think this really matters, because even if I were to say that you were right about the whole ontological parsimony thing and then how it can't be used effectively within this scenario, within a debate or whatever, I think we just have good reason to believe that he's not mental nerfed anyway, because like you said, he's very like resolved here. He wants to save his captain. And if you want to say that lends credence to whether or not he'd be amped, no, because here's the thing: he's in such an injured state that I don't know if he's even in a sufficient state to where he can get mental amped. That's the whole problem. Like when your body is very injured, it's harder for your body to produce hormones, obviously. So I don't know if adrenaline or whatever else would explain away the mental amp. You can try to explain the mental amp if you want. Would actually effectively apply here. That's the whole issue. So when it comes to the whole mental amp thing, because of those assumptions, it's just inherently unlikely. Okay?
Okay, one, I don't agree to talking stick. Secondly, Hermes, let me know if there was a point you didn't catch because my mic was cutting out, because someone did say that my mic was cutting out. Thirdly, I'm pleased, Mium. I don't know why I was muted the entire time he was speaking, even though I said I didn't agree to talking stick in chat. Thank you. So the talking stick can be done whenever I'm done speaking. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So he's very confused. You can tell that he's reading off a gyro, like Zenny said in chat.
Wait,
One,
hold on.
the reason why, I'm sorry.
Do you
why are
guys
interrupting?
want to do you guys want to do talking stick after you're done Infinity, or do you want to just
Yeah.
let it rock?
He's
If
whining
you're
like
the
this.
mod,
He's whining.
I'm sorry. Can you please mute him? I'm not whining at all. It's just the case that you want
What?
moderation, but you're cutting me off.
Wait,
Please
drink
mute
some
on
water.
Westbound while I'm
mute
speaking to
him,
you.
but do you
Please
want
mute
us
on
to
Westbound
do
while I'm
talking
speaking to you.
stick?
I'm trying to answer you, but he keeps on talking. Yeah, thank you,
Yeah, I
Westbound.
can't.
So whatever's easier for you as a mod, you can do. If you do want talking stick Westbound, then I'm fine with that. But
Okay.
okay,
I'll
go
do
now?
talking stick just so it's easier for both of you.
Okay,
All right,
one, I
Wes, can
don't
you-
grant that. I'm sorry. Why are there so many people interrupting the debate? Go ahead, Azrael.
I was gonna ask if he's gonna moderate now because I do need to like work on an assignment.
Yo, can I get my food in, bro? Yo.
Okay, Azrael,
Yeah,
drop
hurry up, bro.
drop down.
Hurry up, bro. Hurry up, bro. Go ahead, Hermes. Go ahead. You want me to forget the points he gave? Go ahead. Hold on, I ain't gonna lie.
All right, we got
Infinity, are
the
you ever
fighters
gonna drink
back
some
in their
water, bro?
corners.
I'm sorry, I don't really
So
care about the point that you just gave, or whatever your name is.
hold on, wait. Judge is deafened, bro. He can't hear it. Hey,
I know. I
No,
don't know why you just
it's
tried
not
to
a
slip
point. I'm
something
just
in.
asking you a question. Like, are you ever gonna drink some water? You don't sound like you drink it.
oh,
Considering that
he
I'm
got
150,
you
I
there.
don't really care about that.
So Infinity, how are you feeling about this performance?
I'll answer that question when Hermes comes back. He
Sounds
can't control
wonderful.
himself.
Isaac, how do you feel about this performance?
I don't know.
Okay,
I think
Hermes
he's
is
just like
back.
talking a
Yo,
lot.
never
So
mind.
look,
Dominus
as a
fucking
response.
scam my shit, bro.
All
Okay, I
right,
got
we're
you.
done.
So please mute him while I'm speaking, since we are doing talking stick, assuming you're the mod. One, I don't grant that within situations such as this, there is some relevant feature in which it would disqualify the production of hormones, or at least disqualify the smooth production of hormones, especially since it seems to be the case that we have outliers such as adrenaline, which ignores how dire situations like this or harsh situations like this disqualifies the smooth process of production of hormones. I don't grant that at all. Additionally, I'm not saying that he's mental nerve or retard. So whenever you say, I don't grant that he's mental nerve within this instance, I agree, dumbass. It doesn't help you. Even Hermes in chat doesn't know what the fuck you're saying. You just said a whole bunch of ramble when you were first responding to the ontological point. But why is that? Because you can't read Gyro's points fast enough in your DMs. You look retarded. Now, one, obviously by assumptions, I don't mean the number of propositions. That's not what you thought I meant. What you meant to say was, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and you can't track. So you tried to come up with an excuse by saying, oh, I thought you had a different definition. No, nobody by assumptions means the number of propositions. That's idiosyncratic. Nobody means that at all. You know that nobody means that. You just wanted to come up with an excuse, retard. Now, as a response to the other points, I want you to explain why his injuries are relevant within this battle. You've yet to explain, because I gave an explanation as to why at some point within the battle, it can be relevant, but not at all points in the battle. At all points, it may not be relevant. Or I apologize. At all points, it may be relevant because he does not have the mental amp. He may not have adrenaline. He may not see his captain dead, defeated. He may not be pushing his ability to his utmost limit like he says within this fucking scan. That's the evidence, okay? In response to other points, the entire basis that I have is all for the common occurrences within fiction. That is the entire basis that I gave initially. Another basis I can give is off of one occurrence. All I'm saying is that there is a reason or motivation to believe that there's a possible mental amp here. Intuitively, I believe it's very strong that there's a possible mental amp as well, considering one, the diction, and then secondly, off of the fact that his captain is on the ground dead. This is an end all be all. So whenever you say that he does have reason to not be mental nerve, I believe that that reason that he has to not be mental nerve would also be a reason that he has to be mental amped. That's the entire point. So when it comes to the ontological parsimony point, the reason why you're saying it's irrelevant is because you lost. Don't say even if. No, you lost that point. There is no entities within a situation in which is outside of assumptions. And if it's the case that we're talking about number of assumptions, which you can't beat me on, I want you to argue with me on that point. Argue with me on this ontological point. If we're talking about the number of assumptions, it's the case that the number of assumptions are equal at the current moment. I affirm other types of parsimony, which is irrelevant currently, but I want you to know why I disagree with ontological parsimony. Okay? So, one, you have the burden of explaining why mentioning the injuries is relevant. Secondly, you have the burden of explaining why isn't something which is like within a scenario, that being the mental amp application. And then thirdly, you have the burden of explaining why ontological parsimony is an effective type of parsimony within debates outside of layman's, okay? These three burdens exist. There's another burden, but I'm not going to repeat it. Why? Because you're saying I'm not tracking, even though you can't track yourself. So point out where in the scan doesn't imply that the injuries he possesses are something relevant. I agree that he's injured. Retard. I agree that he was injured. Now, if you were to say, well, his bones are broken, point out in the scan where it says that. And if his bones are broken, why is that relevant for this last attack since he's building up everything? He's building up all his hockey. He's building up all his mental strength. The last bit of his... He's going to exhaust all of his relevant features within this instance, which is the statement that he makes. Explain why this is a feat and which connects him to Kaido non-circumstantially. Go, bitch. CD.
Okay, are you gonna? Can you mute the black spook, please?
That shit was so.
Okay, like again, he's just showing that he loves to yell, bro. Like this is very hilarious. But besides that, to respond to like a few of the things that he said, first he brought up the fact that with the whole mental amps, okay, if I give reason against the mental nerfs, that's gonna give reason for him to be mentally amped. No, because of the hormone thing. I know you questioned that. The reasoning that I'll give for the hormone thing is the fact that they just reside within your blood. So if they reside or it's affected by your blood, like the less blood you have, the less hormones you can actually produce. Okay, so that applies to adrenaline as well. Adrenaline's a hormone, obviously. It's not just gonna apply to like one hormone and then not the others. Yeah, and when you're talking about the whole parsimony thing, like I said, it's not too relevant, and the reason why it's not too relevant, I already gave you, is because it's just going to be inherently less likely that he's going to be mental amped here because of that, because of the fact that we just don't know that he can actually be amped. And you tried to give probability to it, but then when you tried to give probability, you said therefore like it's possible based on things in fiction, based on like one instance. I don't know what you were referring to there, but that like doesn't really matter. because you making it likely that it's possible doesn't do anything, because I already grant that it's possible. It being possible doesn't really help your point whatsoever. Okay? You can prove that it's possible. That doesn't do anything for you. Right? So, like, why would I care about that? And then for the other thing, you literally conceded on the fact that he would be mental nerfed if you're, like, agreeing that the fact that he's resolved would give reason for him to be mental amped. You're giving a reason against him being mental nerfed. What was the whole point of bringing that up? If it's just going to contradict your own point. So you contradicted your own point, and you're just not addressing anything that I'm saying. The scan was already sent. So you just proved that you can't read. The scan that says he has 30 to 20 broken bones. And I love how at first you said I wasn't addressing it, but no, you clearly knew what I was saying. What I'm doing is I'm making an inference, okay? I'm making an inference that he is severely injured because he has 30 to 20 broken bones. I'm using the severity of the injury to substantiate my argument. I'm not saying, therefore, he is injured. It's going to affect him in battle, okay? And you knew this, yet you still tried to say, oh, I wasn't fulfilling anything.
All right. I'll be switching it over to Infinity now.
So to kind of mimic what's happening, because Isaac is trying to do this and trying to hide the fact that Gyro, Rizhan, Shinra have an entire group chat amping him, I'm going to just do the same thing. So, as a response to some of the points, I never said at all that he was mental nerfed intentionally. I never made a claim. You're the one who made that claim. Additionally, I agree that you're saying he's severely injured. Maybe if you can track, you would notice that I'm saying him being severely injured is irrelevant if it's the case that it doesn't affect him, retard. So I can grant that him being significantly injured within major parts of it, I apologize, a lot of the battle is something which would affect his performances within those specific moments. However, when it comes to this specific moment, why is it the case that him being severely injured is something which is relevant to his performance if it follows that he does have adrenaline, hypothetically speaking? That's just an example, Hermes. Now, in response to the other points, when you say hormones produced it, okay, I'm sorry, this is so stupid. Like, I don't know if you're just saying shit to say it. Hormones are mental. Are you stupid, you dumb bitch? Hormones are mental, okay? The blood flow is relevant to hormones. At least when it comes to production, the blood flow just obviously makes it easier for you to move your body in a specific way. And then obviously you typically model your actions off of the amount of hormones you have. So the way that you perform may be affected by your hormones, and then the blood flow, the only effect that blood flow has within that instance is simply how easy it is for the hormones to have an effect on your performance. So what that means to say is it goes from mental, then to quote unquote blood flow, and then to performance. So obviously if your blood flow is smooth, your performance is going to be smooth. However, that does not mean that just because your blood flow is disrupted, then it tells that your hormones are disrupted. Additionally, adrenaline is a different type of hormone. So I want you to explain why, even if it was the case that your retarded point about hormones being produced by the fucking blood is true, I want you to explain why it follows that adrenaline, which seemingly is a different type of hormone, would fall under that same effect if it follows that we see instances in which people are severely injured, but adrenaline pushes them past their injuries when it comes to it affecting their performance. Okay? Now, I never said that the scan wasn't sent. I also never said that it was not stated in the scan. What I told you to do was explain why within the scan, they explain how his injuries are affecting him relevantly, okay? I agree he's injured. Also, his bones being broken does not mean that his blood flow is fucking disrupted, you stupid bitch. His blood flow can be smooth while his bones are broken. Just because, for example, I break your bone doesn't mean that I hit every single fucking vein within wherever area that I broke your bone in. That's not what that means, okay? I never said he was mental nerve. I'm going to say he's mental amped. I didn't contradict the point. I didn't say intentionally, at least, that he was mental earned. Also, I never said that because there are occurrences within fiction, it's a case that is likely within this scenario. I never made that claim. What I said was, all for the occurrences within fiction, meaning I have priors, it follows that I have some motivation to believe that there is I apologize, some motivation or some reason to refrain the belief that he is not mental amped in comparison to the belief that he is mental amped. Because intuitively, I think he's mental amped. And let me just clarify this. So I don't need to justify elimination and justification. I don't need to justify that he's mental nerfed in this instance. Intuitively, I 100% think he is mental amped, which is why I'm using the priors that I have to frame my belief of him not being mental amped. Okay? So, in sum, you have yet to explain the justification you gave for the words that you have. Alongside that, the burdens that I have been officially substantiated, and then the scan being doesn't tell that what you say about the scan is true. I want you to explain why the things that I question are fucking true.
Finally got unmuted. Okay. Yeah, firstly, what I'm going to say to this is that, okay, I know you don't grant that being severely injured or whatever, because that might be vague, is going to be something that affects your performance. Yeah, but in this context, if his bones are broken, your bones are literally what stabilize your muscles, retard. Like, so you think that you can have 30 broken bones, which is probably most of your functional body, and that's not going to affect the way that you apply yourself physically? I mean, I'm not surprised since you're a complete fucking black idiot, but that's whatever. To address the other stuff, I don't know why you're making fun of me stuttering. The reason why I was stuttering is because you say so much retarded shit that, like, it's hard to remember all the retarded shit that you say. Like, that's probably the only reason why you ever won a debate. Like, you don't say anything of substance, but that's fine. To address the other stuff, you didn't address how you contradicted yourself. Like, I explained how you contradicted yourself, and you said, no, bro, I didn't. Okay, cool. Like, just not addressing the argument firstly. And then for the other stuff, I know. Wait. Why did you get him muted? What? Put the dog back in the fucking muzzle. Okay, that's fine. Now the dog's back in the muzzle, I'm just gonna continue with the other stuff about blood flow. You saying that hormones aren't produced by your blood flow. If you could track, you would know that I misspoke because I immediately corrected myself after that. I immediately corrected myself after that by saying that it just affects your hormones, and this is something that you agreed to immediately after, retard. Please fucking track, okay? Like, I know that, like, there's not a single fucking tracking bone in your body, so that's why it's hard for you to track, okay? Just please try to fucking comprehend what I'm saying. Okay, well, anyway, you can unmute the retard now. Go.
One, mute your mic, whoever's that background noise. Secondly, like, there's no way y'all find this shit rhetorical. Like, I understand Gyro's being biased and he's being a dick rider, so I understand why he's spamming the chat, and I also understand that that's his friend, so that makes sense. But there's no way y'all find this shit. Mute the fucking black retard. Even though when we were both unmuted, he's the one who requested moderation. He was cutting me off. That wouldn't even make any sense. Now, maybe you're retarded, but this is what good debaters do. They give clarity. So the reason why I responded to the corrected point is because I want Hermes to know that I disagree with that point. Even if you don't stand on that point, I want Hermes to know that I disagree with that point, which is why I clarified where they're actually produced from, which is the brain. Now, you have yet to explain why that point matched up. Say that he was mental nerved at all, but he's mental amped, or at least I believe he's mental amped. I have good reason to believe that he's. I have reason to believe that he's mental amped. Now, when you say that broken bones affects his muscle structure, okay. And then, yes, I grant that his muscle structure affects his performances within battles. You're not understanding the point. The point is, I don't grant that within this instance, his broken bones, his disrupted muscle structure, I don't grant that there's something which is affecting him within this instance because of the intuition and the background belief of him possibly being mental amped within this scenario. So if it is the case that he's mental amped, especially through adrenaline, it follows that there is reason to believe that at least within this specific sequence, the broken bones, fatigueness, etc., isn't affecting his performance. So no, broken bones does not disrupt blood flow. Yes, it disrupts muscle structure in certain instances. However, whether or not within this instance affecting him in a way in which will be deemed relevant is the point of contention. So explain that. Go on the Rambo and say, oh, black ass monkey, the black ass. No, the reason why you're stuttering is because gyro is you.
Why the fuck is he pausing me? What the fuck just happened?
I think
it should not be this
it was
bad,
his mic.
okay?
Infinity, you cut out
Do you
for
hear
the
me?
last 30 seconds.
The last 30 seconds. So did you hear my muscle structure?
Hold on, give me a sec.
Yeah, that
Yeah, I
was
heard that
heard.
shit. I heard that shit. Yo, before you continue, bro, hold on, bro. I'm getting fucking called by Domino's, bro. Hold on, bro.
Okay. This nigga can't even judge good pizza, nigga. Fuck. This is so retarded. Like, the judge says that I won, bro. You gotta come to my DMs, bro. You can ask Nexus, bro. Directly after I am Nexus, he beat Moose. Fuck.
Nasty
Rhetorical
moose
fucking
chair.
I've been trying to be rhetorical. I'm not trying to discuss.
Is he?
All right,
Yeah.
I'm back.
Okay, so you heard the muscle structure. All I'm going to simply say is I'm going to repeat the conclusion of that. Therefore, it seems to follow that in this instance, there's no reason at all, actually, to assume that the muscle structure being disrupted actually affects his performance because of the background information I have, the priors that I have, and then the intuition that I have. You repeating yourself does not what the scan said does not mean that what the scan says is what you said, dumbass. The entire point is whether or not the scan entails the conclusion that you're trying to infer from the scan. Okay, so yes, I agree that not in every single instance, which yes, it is the case in some instances, not in every single instance.
You cut out, bro. Yeah, he cut out for everyone else, bro.
Yeah, he's is doing this sometimes. What is a rhetorical ass cutout? What the fuck?
Yo,
Contradiction.
this
I
shit
never
is
intentionally
crazy.
said he wasn't.
Yo, Infinity, bruh. Hold on.
Yo,
You
what's up,
gotta
man?
Infinity, you
say
cut
it.
out, bro. Infinity, you cut out exactly when you said
Doing
that
what,
it
bro?
doesn't occur in all.
You gotta go
It doesn't
Timmy's
occur in all
leg, bro.
cases, but it can occur in some cases. You cut out at that point.
Bro, I already explained why. The contradiction you said that I made with my own point wasn't actually contradictory. I explained why the bone structure point would be irrelevant. Within this instance, if it were the case that the hypothetical is something that's applied to the scenario, the burden's on you to explain why the hypothetical isn't applied to the scenario, because you're saying that they are relative. To say that they are relative within this instance, relevantly speaking, would mean to say that the average stats of Zoro or some ability in which Zoro possesses allows him to go perform relatively or above the person that he's fighting. I don't grant either of those claims. And just to repeat it for Hermes, it's either the case that some feature, at least one feature that Zoro possesses, allows him to instantiate relativity or a better performance than the person he's fighting, or he overall is just relative. I don't grant either claim. There's no evidence. You're just making a claim. This is retarded. If he's mentally within the scenario, you cannot say that non-circumstantially he scales to Kaido, therefore the connective scaling doesn't exist. Additionally, I don't even grant that the Luffy that Kaido lost, or I apologize, Kaido beat was fully or full power. My mock out again, huh?
No. It was
Okay, wait, is he muted? Yeah, okay, so notice how he tried to sneak in questioning if Kaido went all out because he knew he was getting his skull bashed in. I don't know why he keeps repeatedly bringing up Gyro, like, Beetlejuice isn't his fucking daddy, and he didn't start saying that he was better than him as soon as he left the comm. You know, that's very, very funny to me, Infinity, right? But I'm just gonna put you back on the fucking leash that I had you on before. Anyway, yeah, so one that I forgot to respond to is first the motivation point, the motivation versus justification. You're trying to make a distinction here, and then you're trying to say the motivation is based off of your priors. Okay, but if the motivation isn't justifying your claim, then why would I fucking care about it, retard? It doesn't fulfill any kind of burden of proof. Because by your own admission, it's distinct from justification. Like, you're just saying shit. Like, I don't even think you know what you're saying. Like, you're just a complete idiot. But yeah. Wait, who's Bruce, bro? Wait, whatever. I'm just gonna ignore this ping. What up?
Is
But
that
for
your
the
turn?
other things, yeah, I know you also said that with the whole muscle structure thing, it can affect you, but it doesn't have to. What I would say to that is just, it's very likely that it's affecting you. Wait, who keeps saying? All right, whatever. I'm gonna ignore this. It's likely to affect him in the scenario based on the quantity of broken bones that he has. Um, Maybe you can say if he just had one broken bone, it doesn't have to like affect his muscle structure. Like if he broke his finger or something, yeah, I guess that would make sense. But when he has 30 broken bones, like I think that it's very likely that at least one of his crucial bones got broken just based on the high quantity of bones that are just broken within that scenario. And then you also brought up the circumstances based on the fact that you just believe that he's mentally amped here, which then again just still has never been justified. And then another thing that you just failed to prove as well is the fact that his body can actually produce these hormones. Like again, the only response was that okay, well, the production of hormones isn't contingent on the blood. Okay, that's fine, bro. It doesn't have to be contingent on the blood. That doesn't really affect anything that I'm saying. All I'm saying is that the blood affects it, regardless of if whether or not there's a contingency there. If the blood doesn't affect it, then that's not really a response to my point. Okay? Which that doesn't seem to be something that you're contending. So if you're not contending this, I don't see how your point could go through. And then to justify whether or not Kaido would be going all out here, it's a fighting scenario. Presumably he'd want to win. And if he holds back, it's just going to make it less likely that he actually wins the fight.
All right.
I know exactly what you're thinking, Hermes. I know this nigga can't track for shit. Nobody in VC other than Gyro, because he hears the original thing.
You cut out, bro. You cut out, bro. Oh my
Cut out.
fuck.
You've told as to why it's likely would go all out is not actual evidence as to why he would go all out. So although I don't disagree with him going all out within this instance, I'm going to explain why your justification as to why he's going all out isn't actually adequate. So if clearly the case within this, what we just know.
Yo, Infinity's mic about to make him lose the debate.
What the fuck was that?
Oh my god.
He got kicked down. What the fuck was that?
Okay.
Yo, these
No, he's getting
Domino's
dragged
wings
out.
taste like fucking shit.
We know that personality traits independent of the goal of wanting the battle can affect the method that you use in actualizing goals. So although it could be a goal of wanting to win the battle, it can be a life or death situation. However, specific personality traits such as, for example, if he's egotistical, I'm not saying Kaido is, it's just reasons why your justification isn't deductive, obviously. But the case that personality.
Oh my god.
Yo, what the
Now,
fuck is
change
going
his ways of
on?
using in the scenario because we understand that the justification that you gave doesn't instantiate. Yeah, we understand that the justification you gave doesn't instantiate any actual likelihood in the scenario because of features in which One Piece characters consistently have. And then also, like, when you say that if the justification, quote unquote, doesn't support the claim that you're making, why would you? I said it was motivation. It was a clear thing. When you say that I don't know what I'm talking about, that implies that you don't think I can give a definition that's coherent when it comes to both words. So if you believe that, then I can do that. I can explain what justification more distinct.
Oh.
Saying that talking about motivation because that's this I have refrained my belief of not being what you made claim. What I said was is that I have some reason to believe that he may be mental amped within the scenario. I also have an intuition which does say that he's mental amped in the scenario, which is why I'm also going to make a claim that I have some believe that he is mental and within the scenario. Now, me having some reason to believe is not the same thing as my belief being true. Now, I do believe my belief is true, but that's the intuitive claim I made. That's not the actual claim that I made, retard. We're gonna get to the justification when it comes to my point, you dumbass bitch. So when you say that the broken bone quantity entails that he should be
Yo, you cut it again, bro.
affected in the scenario, Hermes, okay, that other instances of the matter, it may be the case that yes, his broken bones affected the matter. Yes, his performance, that's sure, maybe. But for this I want you to his you say that you won't because he tried to let me know if I could.
Yo, you're cutting out like fucking crazy, bro. It's alright though. I'm telepathically. I'm
Yeah, Hermes, you just
telepathically
got
getting
you
arguments,
just
bro.
find out when he links it. Because it cuts out and then like continues where he was just at.
He's like, bro, he's like 4 minutes in the fucking past, bro. It's crazy.
Literally, holy shit. Let me know if I can.
Predictions and of them being produce hormones off of
Wait, Infinity. You were cut out for like a minute.
Infinity, you need to fix your fucking Wi-Fi, bro.
Yo, he was still going.
Hello, bro.
Yo,
Yo, Infinity, bro. Can we get a test?
Okay, hello, bro.
you
What
cut
did
out when you
y'all-
specifically asked him why bones affect performance.
Yeah, so I agree that the bone quantity, or at least the broken bone quantity, I agree it can affect the performance in this specific instance, which seems to be that there is a symmetry breaker. I don't grant that within this instance, his performance at least is being affected in the way you're talking about, okay? And then when you try to slip that point in about questioning why Zoro's body can produce hormones, and yes, he did question why Zoro's able to produce hormones. One, it's biologically necessary.
Oh god.
For it to be actual,
You cut out again.
yes, every single physical performance
You cut out,
requires hormones. Every single physical performance in which is bodily requires hormones. Okay, so yes, biologically speaking, it's the case that his hormones are being affected. Secondly, it's the case that they're able to perform with hormones. The person who mentioned hormones, he can be mental and by something else. I don't care if they operate under some different biological system, in which you can never prove, by the way. However, he's amped by that biological system within this instance. That's all I need to win the point. All needs to win the point is one, we can't determine whether or not he's amped, therefore we can't determine whether or not he non-circumstantially, meaning connectively scales to this character that we're talking about, or two, that he is mental amped within the scenario, therefore he non-circumstantially, meaning connectively, does not scale to this fucking character, you stupid bitch, okay? That's all I need to win the points. Those two things is all I need to win the overall points. You cannot justify the either or role. You can't justify your points, okay? Now, the justification as to why it is the case that I'm pretty sure I cut out doing this, which I'm repeating here, Hermes. You can interrupt me if you already heard this point. The justification as to why his body can produce hormones because there's a criteria for specific performances when it comes to hormone level. We see that empirically he is able to do those specific performances. Therefore, hormone level must be there. It must be present. Must be the case that is applied to him.
Yeah, I got
And then,
that.
like I said, the alternative point that I gave is something that, yeah, okay, go. And also that Beetlejuice out the con, that shit was ass. Like, just focus on arguments, nigga. Like, I understand you're trying to be rhetorical to stall. Just stop, bro.
Isaac, you're in.
Yeah, okay, so notice how, like, I called into question why his quote-unquote motivation for his intuitions or his priors would actually be relevant if it's not justification. I asked him that, and then he just completely begged the question because he's a fucking retard, but that was the least relevant point, so I'll just move on to the other ones. Yeah, and then for the other points, about the whole hormone thing, once again, I haven't heard a response to this. Like, you just misrepresented what I was saying a couple responses ago. and then you thought I was saying something else. I clarified that I wasn't saying it, and then now you just keep going with the notion that you think that I'm saying it for some reason. And you also tried to say that I'm not justifying the fact that Zoro would be going all out, even though, or no, that Kaido would be going all out against Zoro. But then you said immediately after that you don't disagree with it. So if you don't disagree with it, why would I even need to justify it in the first place? Like, if you're gonna question a claim, concede it, and then you're gonna like pick upon my justification. Like, you can't do that if you already conceded on the claim, right? But holy shit, do you have lungs? Who the fuck is this nigga? Wait, bro, why don't you
Isaac,
even think?
focus.
Okay, wait, hold up. Yeah, I'm not gonna read chat. You're right. I gotta focus. Um. Yeah. Beside that, it very clearly is gonna justify it, unless you don't think that in character or likely in character motivation is gonna serve as relevant justification as what a character would probably do. Then I don't see how it's not gonna serve as justification. Like, you have no way of justifying that, but you can try to. Yeah, you can go.
All right.
I promise if you
Infinity, you're
say
good.
that you need time to stall, yeah, I promise if you say that you need time to stall, I won't make fun of you for it. Stop trying to read chat as a method to hide the fact that you're stalling to come up with shitty tier 10 arguments. Initially, I thought they were tier 9, I ain't gonna lie, because they were from Gyro. Like, they're now tier 10. I do realize it's different from you. Gyro will never produce these shitty ass fucking arguments. Now, one, when you say I haven't responded to the hormone thing, I did. You saying that I didn't respond to the hormone thing doesn't mean I didn't respond to the hormone thing. Two, I said that the motivation was for the belief, not the intuition, retard. You can't track. I'm going to repeat that for the judge. The intuition and the belief are different. The intuition I have is simply that I have the gut feeling that he is mental and within this scenario. The belief that I have is that I should refrain myself from commenting on him being mental amped. The belief that I have is that I should refrain, which this is a claim, so yes, mental attitude towards the proposition being true. It is the case that the belief I have is simply that I should refrain myself from commenting on him being mentally amped or mentally nervous within a scenario, or just him being on his average level, whatever, anything. I think I should refrain from that. And then when you say I question beg, that implies that I attempt to give justification for the conclusion which was stated. Look, there was no question beg. You naming a random fallacy that you just learned does not mean that I actually question beg. Does not mean I beg the question. I want you to give adequate reasons as to why I question beg. This is what you're doing. You're giving very vague points in what you already said because you don't know what's going on. You can't track specifics. So you're just giving broad points. You can't justify that. You can't justify the negation thing. You can't justify the Kaido thing because you don't know specifically what you want me to justify. Because you can't track. So you're just telling me to justify things. So I want you to explain why almost every single, actually, I'm going to say every single burden, and I'm going to repeat this, I want you to explain and justify why every single burden you have currently has reasonable cause. And the reasonable cause that I have is off of the intuition and the belief that I gave. So my burdens have reasonable cause. But it seems to be the case that your burdens don't have reasonable cause. It seems like you're just repeating yourself. It seems to be the case that you're just giving arguments that you've heard multiple times over from Mortified. Okay? So the quick justification, or I apologize, the quick motivation for the intuition is simply that one time I saw it. Okay, so the motivation for the intuition is off of what I would do. So if it's the case that I see my captain nerfed or on the ground dead or severely injured, and I understand that his life depends on me, or the goal that we have being actualized depends on me, and I see that exhausting my other features doesn't do anything relevantly within the battle, I would at least attempt to go all out. I would at least attempt to release the resolve that I built up, or the willpower that I built up, which would lead into an amp, or can lead into an amp, okay? So the intuition plays off of what I would do, and then secondly, what I would have a character that I might do. For the narrative, yes, I would make a character who is experiencing a harsh moment be mental amped, especially an instance like this. So you saying that his bone quantity likely affects his performance? I agree with that. That's not the point. It's about whether or not his performance is affected within a specific instance. You repeating your point does not add justification. That's called repeating your points. D1, okay? So we can conclude the justification for belief that I have is all for the one occurrence. That one occurrence tells possibility. I apologize. That wouldn't occurrence until narrative possibility. So what that means to say is this happened once in fiction. Therefore, I know it's possible for an author to think of this and implement it within their verse. Therefore, I have a belief in which I should refrain from commenting on the scenario, specifically that part of the scenario, off of the motivation or reason or basis or foundation of it happening once. But that's an especially. Azrael, hear that. That's an especially, not specifically, meaning that it's not limited to that reason. It's not limited to that basis. However, that basis does exist, which adds on, it's supplementary to the belief that I have, okay? So let's conclude saying that I'm not tracking or that I'm giving multiple arguments does not respond to anything. That's you being rhetorical to stall. Notice how I'm being rhetorical after I give the arguments because I don't need to stall like you. There's a skill difference, okay? Did I cut out?
No, you're
No,
good.
no, that one anymore.
All right, Isaac, you're up.
Yeah, after I respond to this, we can conclude. So firstly, if you want to bring up the fact about the mental nerf, even if I was to grant all that, that wouldn't matter. The reason why it wouldn't matter is because you can apply resolve to Kaido as well, so there'd just be no symmetry breaker. You could say that Kaido is also amped here. And if that's the case, then there's nothing to actually say the defeat wouldn't apply. But either way, I think that's just wrong. I told you why I was wrong because of the hormones. Again, you just keep repeating yourself like in a different way. Oh, motivation, justification, or evidence, or like, dude, just stop. Like, it's like you purposely try to speak longer because you can't actually attack points. But yeah, I love how he's trying to say, "Oh, you're getting amped, bro. You're stalling. Like, please, nobody finds this shit funny. Like, maybe your little dick riders find it funny, right? But nobody else does. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, we can conclude. Hermes, are you there?
Wait, let's see what Infinity
Yes.
has. Infinity, do you want to conclude, or do you think he made something?
No.
You should
So
respond?
no, I don't want to conclude. I'm going to respond because obviously you give a new argument. I don't know why like lucha debaters do that. Oh, we can conclude after I get this. Like, no. To disprove his claim about in replacement of the quality of arguments, I'm just giving quantity. I'm just going to give a quick response.
Oh my god, now he got out. Fuck. Yo, not a single one pinged. What the fuck?
This is the longest one yet. Is Isaac gonna get the burn of rejoinder?
Can someone DM him? Like on his iMessage or something, bro? Or on fucking Telegram? Instagram, Snapchat, bro? Someone tell him he's cutting out. Bro, that Domino's is so fucking ass, bro. That shit tastes like fucking shit, bro.
Dude, it's Domino's. I don't know what you expect. Oh, Infinity's back up.
Which is the main reason as to why what I said was true. So we can conclude now.
No, Infinity, none of your points went through, bro. Or like we didn't hear anything, bro. Like unironically
Short
from the
response.
beginning.
A symmetry breaker. A symmetry breaker is simply some difference between two scenarios in which gives a distinction within the topic of conversation. So whether or not that's invoked onto a moral dilemma or some fictional dilemma or scenario or dichotomy, whatever. Within this instance, one, I don't grant that Kaido has a reason to be mental amped at all. So there's two things. One, supposedly the mental amp is off of the dire situation that they are in. That means Zoro's dire situation is the case that Zoro seemingly prior to this is weaker than Kaido, or that Kaido beat Luffy, or something along the lines of that. So he feels as if he's up against the fences. He's in a dire situation to where he requires some extra urge of strength to actually successfully win. While with Kaido, I don't grant that he believes this is the case. And hold on, whether or not this is actually the case, so let's say hypothetically you believe that Zoro is way above Kaido, but Zoro doesn't know that. Well, Kaido doesn't think that. So you can believe that, but mental amps are perspective. So if Kaido doesn't think that he is losing or that he's in a dire situation, there's no reason for his mind to respond by amping him, whether it's through an increase in hormone or anything along the lines of that. It begins outside of that. That's just an example. Now, finally, the reason why, retard, I agree to the overall point but disagree with your justification is because I want to just destroy you simply on the points. I don't give a fuck if I agree with the belief. If your justification is wrong.
Bro, fucking Netanyahu got his Wi-Fi, bro.
Conclude. I'm sorry. This is this is stupid. He didn't fulfill any of the claims like burdens, whatever this nigga's at.
Yo, you cut out after you explained the distinction between Kaido and Zoro's resolve thing.
Did you hear the perspective stuff?
Oh yeah, I heard that. But the stuff after you
You
cut
heard
out,
the Luffy cap and stuff?
I didn't hear anything about Luffy Captain now.
Okay, Luffy on the ground, Luffy dead, injured, severely injured, whatever it is. I'm pretty sure he's dead, but it doesn't matter. He's severely injured. He can't fight Kaido, right? Blah, blah, blah. Dire situation is perspective based, blah, blah, blah. It's perspective based. Even if you believe that Kaido's way below Zoro and Kaido isn't in a dire situation, all right, Kaido's in a dire situation, but Zoro isn't in a dire situation, it's the case that as long as they believe they're in a dire situation, that's why their mind responding not that's due increasing their hormone levels or something outside of that. So yeah, we can conclude like you didn't fulfill any of the burdens that you have. I adequately explain why everything that I just offer the one occurrence that I can bring up is the case that I have reason for the belief, and then off of what I would do if I were one writing a character or writing a battle such as this, or off of what I would do if I was in this scenario in the first place, I have the intuitive belief. And then that doesn't mean to say that due to my intuition, what you're saying is wrong. That means to say that due to my intuition and belief, there's some reasonable cause to skepticize the conclusion you're trying to infer from the shitty ass fucking scan, okay? So I want you to explain, if you believe, I want you to explain why the burdens that you have are already justified.
All right, Isaac came here up.
Okay, I'm unmuted finally. So the distinction that you try to give is a dire situation. Yeah, I just want to ask you, what do you define as a dire situation in this situation, firstly? And then secondly, even if Kaido is not in a quote unquote dire situation, the whole point is that he wants to save his, or not to save, but he wants to support his crew, obviously. Like, he's a Yonko. So he has good reason to be resolved here. And then if resolve causes mental amps, I don't think that's anything that you disagree with. Then him being resolved, even if there is a distinct, or it's within a distinct way from Luffy, that still gives justification for why it's the case that he would likely be mental amped as well here. So what you're doing here is you're giving a distinction, but you're not actually giving a relevant one. Okay? So you can say that it's like different, but it's not innately different in a way that's actually important to my argument. That's the whole point.
Isaac?
Yeah, okay, he can go.
Oh,
Wait,
Real quick, Herman. So D&D, I want you to listen to this because you're a way better debater than him. Tell me I'm tripping. When I make a claim that I made the claim and disagree with the claim isn't justification for what I said being wrong, okay? So I make the claim that X is true and I justify or provide certification, and in response you say, well, X isn't the case. Okay.
Infinity? Oh, we lost him.
Threshold lead to mental imps. So yes, he wants to perform an action. He possesses a desire. Therefore, is some level of resolve possession. Did I cut out again, bro?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
cut out around the point where you explain something about how like it doesn't matter if he just has the opposite game.
Bro. Okay, in some saying that I'm wrong doesn't mean that I'm wrong. You need to justify why I'm wrong. Let me turn on my nose. Actually, whatever. Just saying that I'm wrong doesn't mean that I'm wrong. I give justification for the claim. I don't care if you believe it's a relevant distinction or not. Also, I don't really. Whenever you make a claim, I don't care, or I don't care what you care about. I don't care what you consider. I don't consider what you care about. Just for Hermes to know this care shit. No, that's not how that works. Did I get Hermes? There's no way.
No.
I'll get on phone after this, but yeah, I don't really consider you parents not a destruction or it's just false just because
All right, now he cut it again, bro. Yo.
Infinity, you gotta go mobile, bro.
care about bro, I like bro.
Yo, go on phone, bro.
My phone, hold on, it's RN. This is what phone, bro. Hello, do y'all hear me, man?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah.
Yo, what's up, buddy?
One, the definition of a dire situation is irrelevant because we understand that what I'm talking about is instantiated from the scan, specifically evidenced by Zoro believing that he needs to try his utmost within this specific instance to actually do something against Kaido, which we don't even know if he believes that he's actually going to do something against Kaido or if it's just an end-all be-all type of attack. But as long as we know that there is some feature of the battle in which caused him to try his hardest within this specific instance, that's all we need to say that he is within a situation in which obviously all the relevant features within. And let me know if I start fucking lagging on mobile too. But when you say that resolve leads to mental amps, I don't grant that. I believe that resolve at specific high thresholds leave are mental amps. So when you say that, well, he also has resolve, therefore he's also mental amped, or he should be mental amped, or it's likely he's mental amped, I don't grant that that is a likelihood increasing argument. I don't grant that that's deductive primacy. I don't grant it at all. Resolve is possessed by most people who have desires, who want to do something. They typically have resolve to do that thing if they possess a desire. But the entire point is if he believes that he is massively stronger than Zoro, or if he believes that he's massively stronger than everybody, or even if he doesn't believe he's massively stronger, but he just loves to hold back because he thinks holding back is fun or anything along the lines of that, it's the case that he doesn't have to try his hardest, but while also having, anyways, while also having the goal of winning. So I already brung this point up before, like you're retarded. It's simple. He can have the goal of winning. He can have all this that resides on his wins, such as the life or the preservation of life of his crew, all this, but he doesn't have to go all out due to specific personality traits, especially if he believes, meaning especially not limited to, not specifically, but especially since he believes potentially that he is way, 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 way stronger than his crew. Okay? Now, when you say I didn't give a distinction, that doesn't mean I didn't give a distinction. It seems to be the case that the distinction is one, the fact that he made a highlighted plan of trying to most, which typically leads, at least from the intuitive point that I gave, typically leads into occurrences of mental amps. Secondly, we understand that within a situation, it seems to be the case that Zoro does believe that he is weaker than Kaido and also is weaker than Kaido before he uses attack, considering that he needs to try his utmost harder within this specific battle. Or it was considering that he needs to try his utmost within this specific last attack or in this specific last scenario. Therefore, whenever you make the claim that, well, they both, there's no relevant distinction. Yes, there is a relevant distinction. The fact that one, Kaido doesn't have the captain, because he is the captain one, he doesn't have someone of importance lying on the ground who just lost to the person that he's facing. And then additionally, it seems to be the case that he's massively stronger than Zoro. He was outperforming this weakened, I agree that he's weaker prior, yes. He was outperforming this quote unquote weaker Zoro throughout the rest of the battle, if it's the case that they were battling before, assuming that they were. Now, yes, he has resolve. Yes, there is a relevant distinction. Thirdly, I don't need to give a definition of a dire situation, but just for the judge, I'll explain what I mean by a dire situation. All a dire situation is just a situation in which makes it difficult for you to exhaust your features. That's the description of a dire situation. Okay? So what's the response that you gave or that you have? I apologize. Or would you like to conclude? There's no way the phone isn't working. Am I lagging?
No, it's a
No,
lot
no,
better.
you're
Like you
good.
haven't cut out. You haven't cut out like crazy like before, but there'll be like minor lags. But I can still understand what you're saying.
Uh,
All right, issachsm, you're up.
Just wrapping up.
Yeah, okay, well then I could just link back the same thing to Zoro. If you think that it's threshold based, I can just ask, okay, why did Zoro meet this threshold? And then if you think that's based on his effort, what's the correlation between the effort and the threshold? That can be something that I'd just call into question. And then for the other things where you said that Kaido doesn't have, well, wait, hold up, go. Well, you said that Kaido doesn't have to go all out. And the reason why he doesn't need to go all out is because, like, he's just way stronger than these guys. Like, they're way weaker than him. So even if he does want to win, he doesn't have to go all out or whatever. It would still be more efficient for him to go all out because then he would just beat them quicker. He might not have to do it. It's just, it's more efficient. So that's going to add more to the character incentive. I'm not like disagreeing that it's possible. I just think that it's likelier that he's going to be going all out. And the reason why it's likelier is because it's just going to be more efficient. Like, it's going to be much more quicker to just, okay, one shot this nigga than to fucking, like, for example, like, let's say there's a bug and you could step on the bug or you could just play with it, right? You'd rather step on it because that would be quicker, that'd be more efficient. You're trying to get the bug killed. Even if you see the bug is weak, that doesn't really change anything. Like,
All right, is that good?
yeah, that's good.
Infinity, you are up.
yeah, I hope the judge is tracking. I never made the claim that Kaido was way stronger than Zoro. He is, by the way. I'm going to make that claim now. He is way stronger, but that's irrelevant. I don't want to argue that point. That's irrelevant. Let's say we can't determine whether or not he's stronger. You're trying to argue that Zoro is relative stronger, whatever, within instance, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's not the point. It's perspective based. We're talking about what he perceives. So if Kaido perceives himself as way stronger than Zoro, he's actually stronger. If he perceives himself as way stronger than Zoro, then he has a reason to hold back. When you say that, or I apologize, then he can hold back while still having the knowledge that his team's preservation of their life resides on him, okay? And I'm sure that his team also trusts Kaido's strength, okay? So what you said doesn't respond to the point at all. Now, when we talk about efficiency, efficiency is relative. That is relativistic. It's relativistic to the goal. So yes, I agree that him going full power, if it is the case that he's holding back, would be more efficient if the goal is to quickly end the battle. But that's presupposing that's what the goal is. If it follows that he loves fighting and he wants to stall the battle as long as possible, then holding back will actually be more efficient when it comes to actualizing that goal. If it's the case that he doesn't like moving that much, he's lazy, then it's going to be the case that he's limiting his movements. Therefore, he's holding back. And that is efficient to do because it successfully actualizes the goal, or it's progressive towards the actualization of the goal of not moving that much or preserving energy or whatever. These are just examples of relative efficient methods. Efficiency is relative. I don't know why the fuck you bring that point up. That just presupposes what you said was true. When you say that you call into question all these points, you've yet to explain, retard, why you have reasonable basis for skepticism. I have reasonable basis for my skepticism. For the Zoro thing, which is obviously a retarded point. Like, I'm sorry, this is so stupid. Well, when you say the results required, which is obviously true, I know why you did it before. Like, you're stupid. Obviously, it's the case that mental amps are off of thresholds of resolve or whatever else is causing the mental amp. The justification as to why it seems to be the case that Zoro does meet this mental amp is, or I apologize, the motivation that I have for the belief of him reaching this threshold is what I gave prior. And no, that's not circular. You didn't question this before. This is a new question that you're proposing to the table. The motivation is simply of what we're doing initially. So when you ask me, well, why do you believe that he's mental amped? That is identical to the question of why do you believe that he's at the specific threshold of resolve and which causes a mental amp? That's literally the same question if by mental amp, at least in that specific sentence, I meant the resolve level. Increasing his strength, you fucking retard. So I have the intuitive motivation behind that. I have the belief which talks about refraining, judging him being mental amp within that scenario. And then also I do have the seemings in which I proposed initially, which is off of the common occurrences with similar features. So it seems to be the case that his captain is lying down, he's desperate. He comments on, and you have yet to respond to this point, he comments on how he's going to try his hardest. If he's trying his hardest, if he's exerting and exhausting all of his features to the utmost limit, it's the case that that also applies to his mental features. Features aren't just physical, yes, mental features. We're not just talking about his visible features, his mental features. He's putting it all into this one attack. So he's going to attempt to ignore the pain of his broken bones, for example. He's going to attempt to ignore the pain of his brain hurting, or if he got punched in the neck, or he's going to ignore the pain or attempt to, okay? So I never said that Kaido was way stronger. I said if he perceives himself to be way stronger, then it would follow that he does have a reason to hold back. You saying that the preservation of life of his crew resides on him winning the battle is irrelevant to what Kaido is thinking at the time, because if Kaido thinks that he's way stronger, then it's both the case that his life is going to be preserved, his crew's life is going to be preserved, and he defeats the enemy, which is ultimately the goal. So there's one confirmed goal. Kaido wants to defeat the enemy. When you say that he wants to defeat the enemy fast, that's called head cannon. Can we spell head cannon? Can we conclude, please? Like, this is so, like, no. I can't keep on handing out free imps. Like, fuck.
All right. We'll see if issachsm has a response and if you'll like to conclude.
Infinity talks a fucking lot, bro.
All right. issachsm, you're up.
Yeah, okay. For the perception thing, that doesn't change anything. It can be perceptual. That's not going to change my argument at all. So if it doesn't change my argument, then yeah, Kaido can perceive himself as way stronger and then still go all out. And then you said that it's presupposed that he wants to beat them quickly. No, I'm not presupposing that. I can give you justification for it. It's explicitly stated with Hybrid Kaido that he uses this in serious fights. So in a serious fight, you're not going to want to not end your opponent quickly. Like, do you stall serious fights? No. And then I also want you to prove that because he likes to fight, that he likes to drag out fights. That doesn't like follow at all. You said if he wants to fight, he wants to drag out fights. No, like these things aren't necessarily connected to each other. I don't know how you can prove they are connected to each other in this context whatsoever either. Like that's another thing that you have to justify. And then for the other thing, you keep bringing up shit about intuitions, which I already told you how your intuitions, they haven't really justified anything. By your own admission, they aren't justifiers. You said they're just motivations, but if it's motivation that's separate from justification, like I said for the 1,000th time, that doesn't do anything for you, Infinity. And then you said I haven't given any basis for my skepticism. How is that the case? That like I haven't given any basis for it? Like, and what did you want me to give basis for? The things that you questioned. Do you want me to give basis for everything I questioned, or is it for a specific thing? Because you didn't make that clear. There's something you try to slip in now, because like you just slip in points and you get beat up. So you've been doing the entire conversation, but unmute him now.
All right. Infinity, you are.
I've been holding myself from doing this for the entire debate because I didn't want to embarrass him. So Hermes, let's see if you're an honest tracking judge. Can I ask you a question, please?
What's up, buddy?
Do you think I just now brung up how he hasn't provided reasonable cause for skepticism in the prior point? Or have I been bringing that up this entire time?
As a judge, I feel like that'll be decided after.
Yes, to answer the question, yes, I have been bringing it up multiple times over and over again. And then I know that's true because Mono is the one amping me with arguments and DMs. And he said that 50 minutes ago when we first started the debate, okay? So, in response to everything else, when you say it being perspective based doesn't change the claim, the reason why it changes the claim is because if it's perspective based, we have evidence that he does perceive himself to be way stronger than the crew that he's fighting, specifically Zoro, for example. Therefore, he does have a reason to not have a mental amp as a response to Zoro fighting. If it's the case that it isn't perspective based, but rather it's off of whether or not he actually is way stronger than Zoro, then it follows that we currently don't have any evidence that we can use to determine whether or not he's stronger than Zoro. Therefore, it does change the claim because one side points towards the conclusion of him not being mental amped. The second side points to the conclusion of us not knowing whether or not he's mental amped, okay? So yes, the claim changes significantly. Yes. Additionally, when you say, well, if it's a serious fight, it means that he can't hold back or he shouldn't hold back. Oh my God, this is so retarded. So if all is serious, and this is a if what all determines All right, but if the determination of what a serious fight is the negative consequences of which would be produced if it were the case that you would lose, then it follows that almost every single fight is a serious fight. However, we see in a lot of fights, it's explicitly stated and shown that characters hold back. So it being a serious battle does not determine whether or not the character is holding back in most instances, considering how if it's the case that all a serious battle is, like I said, it's a production of negative consequences, potentially, if it were the case that you were to lose the battle, then in every single battle, there's a potential negative consequence of you dying. However, we know that, for example, Kizaru, Luffy, etc., all these people have at least one instance of them holding back against a person. But that person that they're holding back against can kill them. We know it's logically possible for them to die against that person. We know narratively it's possible for them to die against that person. However, they still hold back. It's classified as a serious battle because there are negative consequences in which are significant, such as death, or, for example, him not finding the One Piece, feeling his goal, actually, like, whatever, and him not actualizing his dream, whatever. There are negative potential effects, very high at that, even though the highness doesn't really matter, but very high at that, but they still hold back. So I want you to explain why Kaido is the type to take all serious battles. I apologize. I want you to explain why Kaido is the type to not hold back in all serious battles. If all a serious battle is just simply production of potential negative consequences if the victor or if the fighter were to lose. And then in response to the other thing, yes, you made the blunder and said and mistracked that I was using intuitions as justification, and you tried to correct yourself and say, "Oh, but you're not using intuition as justification. You're using it as motivation." When you say that it isn't relevant to bring up, then, or I can't use it for anything, justify that, because I already explained why it is relevant to bring up. I'm not about to keep on helping you. I'm not about to keep on helping you, bro. Like, I don't know if Gyro's in VC anymore, which is why the argumentation quality from you has decreased, but I'm not going to keep on helping you. I'm not going to keep on repeating the fucking point, you dumbass bitch. I already gave an explanation as to why the intuition is relevant here. And then, yes, I did say, by the way, that I want you to provide reasonable causes for all your skepticism. I want you to explain why everything that you question, you have a reasonable basis behind it. Okay? Other than the ontological parsimony point. Because I understand that you have a basis behind it, which is simply your lack of knowledge because you're fucking retarded. You don't know anything about ontological parsimony, which is why you question why what I said about the number of assumptions being true. Okay? That's why. That's the basis for that part of skepticism. Okay? Now, I want you to explain why every other skepticizing point has a basis behind it. The basis for my skepticism, I've already given, and I can even give more. Okay, if you want me to give more, I can do that. So go ahead and explain why it's the case. And then this is the point earlier. I wasn't going to repeat it, but let's not have someone come up with excuses as to why you lost. The point that I gave earlier was that I don't see how you can scale this and connect this to Luffy, even if it were the case that there was no circumstantial scaling between Kaido and Zoro. It's the case that seemingly Luffy was nerfed beforehand, and there are things within the battle which affect his performance. Therefore, I don't see how you can provide connector scaling between Luffy, Zoro, Kaido. However, if you lose this point, which we can conclude on right now, I guess the Luffy point is kind of irrelevant. Nigger.
All right. Issachsm, you are up.
Okay, wait. So, Hermes, you know that I'm not saying that because he's serious, he's going all out, right? That's like, I'm fine with concluding on everything else besides the whole me not having basis for my skepticism. Yeah.
I have to preach on my dick right now.
The basis is the fact that your claims are going to be contingent on this. So if you don't prove them, your claims just don't go through. Like, I haven't questioned anything irrelevant. The things that I've questioned are directly linked back to your claims. You can unmute him because I said I'm
Okay.
fine with concluding on the other things. Just like,
All right. Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you guys want to like actually state your conclusions
Wait, no,
or
and
just finish your
he
points?
asked Infinity a question.
Oh, okay.
So one, I don't grant the first thing, prove that. Secondly, you fucking oh my god, Hermes, and you don't have to do it right now. I know you're gonna laugh. Your mic is gonna be mute, whatever, because you're gonna you don't wanna seem like you're biased or whatever. You're not biased, but this nigga just said the basis for his skepticism is that my claims rely on these points for them to be true. That's not basis for skepticism. That's basis for ratting, you stupid bitch. Explain why that's a valid basis for skepticism, which simply means to say that this is some good reason to skepticize your point. A good reason to skepticize a point is not off of the fact that what I'm saying is contingent upon those things that you're skepticizing being true. That's not a good reason to skepticize. That's a good reason for me to justify the skepticism. Or I apologize. Justify the burdens that you place upon me through skepticism. So, in sum, it's the case that What you gave was a reason as to why I should justify the claims that currently have burdens on them. You didn't do it. You didn't explain the reason as to why you have a burden for your skepticism. If it's the case that you believe that's a reason or a basis for skepticism, I want you to explain why that's a valid reason or basis. Fuck. And then, like I said, there's still a burden for the first claim. Can we conclude? Like, you just repeated yourself. The entire point is, it's not simply just about whether or not it being a serious battle entails that he's going to go all out. It's about whether or not that's a reason to believe that it's likely for him to go all out even then. Because we know that I don't think you can name a single battle within One Piece that isn't serious, because almost every single battle is able to entail negative consequences. Like, for example, if it's a sparring match, the same as us mock debaters, whenever we discuss, we're basically debating because we have the ego, we don't want to lose, even if it's a discussion. I don't see why, if they're having a mock battle, they wouldn't try to the point where they wouldn't want to get embarrassed if they were to lose. So it's the case that every single fucking battle has some serious factor because of what a serious battle is defined as. Therefore, you cannot use that to say that, well, in this instance, it's a serious battle, therefore, there's a reason to believe that he's going all out. There's a reason to believe it's like he's going out. There's a reason that he is like actually going out. No, that's not actual reason. That's called a non sequitur, okay? I'm going to send the scan for that. Do you know what a non sequitur is? Hold on, let me get it. A non sequitur. Look at chat. Boom. A non sequitur. NONSEQUITUR. Let's conclude.
All right. issachsm, you're up.
Yeah, even if you don't think that your claims being contingent on what I'm questioning is reason for my questioning, most of the things that I've questioned, I've given like arguments and like rebuttals against your views anyway. So I don't know how it would be baseless and that you could just dismiss anything. Like I know you're trying to rat because you're getting beat up, but that's fine. We can just we can conclude on the other stuff, or no, we can just conclude in general. That's fine. Hermes, do you have a judgment, or do you want us to do
Does
conclusions?
Infinity agree?
Like,
Wait, hold on. Let me
He
see.
oh
keeps
yeah,
on
he's been
trying to
wanting
do
to
it to where he's pushing conclusions because he knows every single time I unmute, I just defeat every single point that he gives. You fucking
You
retard.
wanted to
No,
conclude first,
I'm sorry.
retard.
Please
What?
mute him. I don't understand why he's unmuted. No, I'm not done. Obviously, please mute him. He just made a new claim. Like, what the fuck? So, if it is the case that the basis for your skepticism are the arguments that you gave, I'm sure we all see the problem with that. One, oh my god, this is so retarded. One, I can accept that that's a basis, but that means that your basis for your skepticism is contingent upon the argument you gave being true. Meaning that what you just did was admit that you can't give a basis for your skepticism, that you tried to do something alternative by just saying that, well, I don't need the skepticism because I have the arguments. But you're going to lose the judgment on the arguments as well. So, yes, we can conclude because there's no burden that you justified. And then, and when you say that, most of the things, everything that you question, I justified. Either way, I did justify, even though you don't have a basis. I did justify everything that you questioned. But even if I didn't justify everything that you questioned, debaters give out. So, alternatively speaking, it follows that you have a valid basis. Let's say you have a basis. Let's say you do have a basis. You have yet to explain why it's valid. Let's conclude.
All right. Hold on.
Do we need
issachsm,
conclusions? Like, I'm like, bro.
issachsm, do you want to conclude, or do you think he's time to
I don't
conclude?
really care for like conclusions. Hermes, you can just give judgment. What do you think?
Okay, so you guys, neither one conclusions. All right, yeah, I think Infinity won.
Why?
Obviously. Okay, can you please explain the judgment so we don't like please?
Okay. Yeah, so so there was like two main points for this specific point, and this point is specifically asking why Zoro would use this at the start of the fight. Infinity believes that he'd only use this at the end of the fight due to it being stated to be his limits, and he thinks that limits are something that is posed at the end of a fight because, sorry, what the fuck is going on in chat? Because it's something that happens when someone expends all their previous assets. And then for the ontological parsimony point, Infinity explained why he believes that the ontological parsimony can't be applied here is because the entities that are being posited are both being equally posited to both sides. You know, having a negating hypothesis, the same as having a normal hypothesis. They both need some sort of justification for them. They have both some sort of burden proof, such as contingent on the second point, or if we gave a better argument. And then for that point, I believe Infinity won. So he explained specifically why the perception matters for Zoro here, because Kaido believes he's so much more powerful than Zoro. He also said that Zoro has another motivating factor, which is the fact that Luffy's like fucked up and shit. And then the reason why those points are relevant was because he believed Infinity trolling me while I'm giving him judgment. Okay, bro. Anyways, yeah. So he believes that this is the what was the specific thing? The threshold for a resolve amp. I remember Isaac asked him, but he specifically explained that he's already explaining that by explaining that he thinks that this is the resolve limit threshold. I mean, and he doesn't believe that Isaac got that adequately.
That is the threshold's a question bag though, because it's the thing in question. No,
because you asked him what that thing would be for the resolve, or what the threshold, what he defines that threshold to be. He already defined it. And then he just explained as well as to another reason actually was that he had priors for this, and the priors for this were things that he observed that typically occurs in fiction, and that's what the basis for his intuition was.
Oh my god! Well, wait, bro. I literally like pointed this out multiple times.
I'm sorry. Wait. I'm sorry. Westbound, can we please allow the judge to finish his explanation? I asked for the judge to explain his point for the recording and the audience. If he has contentions with the judgment because he's asked and retarded, he can give him after. But please finish for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
So specifically for the intuition point, Infinity explained his previous things that he sees typically happen in fiction. He also explained that this is something that he intuitively believes would be written in a fiction if he was writing a fiction, which he correlated to specifically what the author be writing in this scenario. And then so that's like the two reasons to why he believes that threshold's here. So he not only defined it, but also showed that typically this is what happens for this threshold. He also gave one of the reasons to why this would occur, like this resolve amp is specifically because of the adrenaline given, but that was just one of his reasons. He said there's like other reasons, specifically also just being that, he saw typically this happen in fiction. And why is this guy DMing me, bro? And then specifically for the bone point, Infinity's explaining that he agrees.
Infinity won easily. Mono is a bitch, and Akino got.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that was. He also specifically explained that he agrees